Yes, we're starting now. Ladies and gentlemen, hello everyone. We will have today the Syed Saddiq. He's one of the world's youngest minister, we can say. Now he's not minister, but he was the minister in Malaysia. And he's a good friend of mine. He was in Turkey like 5 years ago. He visited Kavataş High School and Kartal İmam Hatip High School. He gave lectures to the young students in Turkey, and he's also a past debater. He won a couple of things in the world. He won Oxford Ivy. He won the Asia Championships. He became, I think, 3 times the Asia's best debater. So he's an internet phenomenal, we can say. Before being the Minister of Malaysia, Minister of Youth of Malaysia, he was also the internet phenomenal. He's totally from one of our sides, one of our members, the Z generation. I'm now the Y generation, but he's like he's more into the high school students. And so we'll have Syed Saddiq. Syed, hello, how are you?
Hello, I'm very good. I'm very good. As you mentioned, I'm looking forward to visit Turkey soon. Hopefully, once our borders open up.
hopefully. And we'll have, this this name of this program is Her Düşünceye bir Şans Ver, which is a chance to every opinion. So we will talk today with Syed how debate affected his life, also the youth politics, what did he do in Malaysia, and what his aspirations, what his ideas for the future. So we'll talk that also. So let's to begin with, how the life goes now for you, Syed. You're also locked down, and as far as I see, you are not normally bald. But why are you bald now? Just tell us what's the reason for that.
Yeah. In brief, like before the end of the year, I made a challenge on myself towards the public that if I'm able to fundraise about 70,000 US dollars, then for a laptop program, one family, one laptop in my constituency, and it must come from crowdfunding. If I reach that amount, I'll go bald. And the reason is not just to bridge the digital divide, especially when education now is done online, and a lot of families, underprivileged families in my constituency, still do not have access to a laptop, which will then end up needing them to either go to the cyber cafe and pay money or borrow their friend's laptop. I think I owe a duty to bridge the digital gap. And since I'm currently in opposition, the allocations towards opposition constituencies have been taken back. So instead of complaining here and there, it's much better for me to find a solution. And I believe crowdfunding is the way forward, and to show that Malaysians, when tested, will be as charitable as ever to assist those who are in need. So obviously, when the deadline came, because I put a 5-day deadline to raise this money, we raised a lot more than expected. It was almost double the amount, which then led me to go bald live on television during prime time. And my mom was the barber. It was a very exciting time, but
Your
it
mom
also
was the
shows.
barber.
Yeah, my mom was a barber. So it was really a symbol of people's power to show that crowdfunding can work, and that when we are tested, people will come in support of one another. Even though it's COVID time and a lot of people are jobless or unemployed, they still want to help out. So yeah, that's the short story as to why I'm bald. Usually this is the first time I've gone like full bald. Like the last time I went was when I was in military school, in high school. That was a long time ago. So yeah, new look,
Yeah.
new year.
So we'll have Şevval. Şevval will ask you 8 quick questions to get to know you better. So here's Şevval. You're online.
Hi, Syed. I'm Şevval from Istanbul University. My first question is, how has the pandemic period been going on for you?
It's been very tough, to be honest. So because of the lockdown and the partial lockdown, it's made it much harder for me to help my constituents. I'm a member of parliament, and my parliament is located in a suburban to rural constituency. So when there was a lockdown, a lot of them lost their jobs, unemployed, had a massive pay cut, and I had the duty to help them out. However, due to the lockdown, it made it harder for me to organize activities, programs, to offer assistance, whether it's food aid or alike. But I'm keeping myself very busy. I'm a workaholic. I can't just keep quiet and sit down at home and do nothing. So I'm organizing many programs in my constituencies to help out the underprivileged. So yeah.
I see. Very nice. So the second question of mine is, what is the favorite thing about Turkey, and also the thing you find the most weird?
Favorite and most weird. Okay, I'll start with the weird one. I don't know whether this constitutes as weird, but I think Malaysia and Turkey share a lot of similarities, that it's a melting pot and salad bowl combined. Like really, the Turkey is able to bridge the West and the East together, Europe and Asia together, and it's such a plethora of views, opinions, people. You can get those on the extreme left who I meet up and those on the extreme right sitting at the same table together, arguing heatedly with one another. It's almost similar to Malaysia, and I appreciate that a lot. It's very hard for me to find that cultural diversity in other parts of Europe, which obviously Turkey is very close to. So I think that's the weird but unique part. Favorite part of Turkey is unbelievably gorgeous. I mean, visited Islamabad. Sorry, not Islamabad. I visited Istanbul. Istanbul, and I mean, the last time, how long did we stay? I think we stayed like 5 nights, 6 nights.
5 years ago. 5 years ago.
Yeah, and I stayed for quite a few nights, and Istanbul is gorgeous. My God, I mean, you can be a normal tourist without having a lot of money. And then I was still a student, so I didn't have a lot of money. But when I visited, I mean, really, just the beautiful sights, the mosque, the cats on the streets, the coffee which you'll have early in the morning, and the beautiful weather. I mean, it's gorgeous. So that's why, to me, Turkey is really for everyone. You can go for luxury tourism, can enjoy your time. You can also be a student and cash strapped, but also with the right willpower to explore Turkey. So my only regret is I only was able to visit Istanbul. I didn't get the chance to visit Ankara and many other places. So again, I'm hoping for borders to open up, so that I'll be able to visit Turkey a lot more.
Oh,
Hopefully.
forward to see you. So the third question is, what are your most and least favorite words?
Most and least favorite words. I think my favorite word now at the moment, also because I'm in politics, is unity. The reason why I touch on unity, because as I mentioned just now, Malaysia is a salad bowl and melting pot combined together. We are still trying to deal with the debate on whether we should assimilate or integrate. And we are a country of multiracial and multi-religious backgrounds. Diversity, to me, is our strength. However, there are many forces in Malaysia who are trying to burn bridges and build more walls to separate us according to race and religion. And I think it is a time for young leaders like myself to speak up, to be the bridge among different race and religion, to show that diversity is an asset and should never be treated as a liability. So to me, unity means a lot, especially in current context. And I don't think this is just a Malaysian phenomenon. You look at what happened in the United States, the last presidential election, you can see Trump and Biden almost polar opposites in how they like to take America forward. And even after elections, still suffering from that level of divisions. And you look in Europe, it's the same. So I think really unity is a word which I feel very strongly about today. Word which I hate the most now is the opposite of unity, which is division. For obvious reasons, it's just the opposite. Yeah.
I see. The fourth question, I think, is, what is your favorite Turkish food? I know you like Turkish food.
Baklava. It's called, am I pronouncing it right? Baklava? The sweets,
Baklava.
the baklava, yeah. I remember, I mean, Yavuz brought me to I mean, every single coffee shop which we went to will order that as well. And then, is it Turkish coffee? Is this really nice, strong, scented coffee. So I forgot what it's called, but I mean, back then I just said Turkish coffee. And tea, sorry. And then after that, they'll obviously serve baklava as well.
Yeah, I think
I remember ordering a lot to bring back home. So yeah, I'm definitely ordering a lot more of that. Now I'll ship it all home.
you know, Syed, we went to a place to eat a waffle with like all the
Oh
all
yeah.
the stuff inside. So you were like, I saw your face, and it's the face that I haven't seen someone who's eating waffle. So it's like wow, you
Yeah.
made it.
And we went at night. My God, and it was like I think they I'm not sure they burn or melted chocolate, Nutella, and
Yeah.
like different layers of like white chocolate, whatever kind of chocolate, all together on that waffle, served at night when it was cold. The weather was brilliant at that point in time. So I don't know what that's called, but whatever it was, I truly enjoyed it.
Yeah. Okay, move on.
So this is a bit of a tough question, but what is the thing you consider your biggest flaw?
My biggest flaw, I'm quite emotional, and there have been a lot of occasions where emotions drive my decision-making process. And to me, that's a problem, which I have to deal with. Obviously, you can't remove emotions from decision-making, but to be controlled by it is wrong. So there are times where I'm quite, I'm definitely not risk-averse, but I'm too gung-ho to the point that I make quick decisions, which will not necessarily be well thought of. So to me, that's a big flaw. I've made many mistakes because of that decision-making process. Obviously, in life, it's all about improvement. So I acknowledge and I'm conscious of that decision-making flaw. So now, whenever I am confronted with a problem and I feel just like acting out with my emotions, I'll choose to put my phone aside and just calm down, talk to friends and my political friends before coming up with a conclusion. So yeah.
I see.
Oh my God, I love the cat.
Ah, yeah.
Hello.
She loves
Oh
coming.
my God, it's so
Okay.
cute. What's her name?
Tnas. I don't know.
Tinas.
Yeah.
Hello. Oh my God.
So, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
I believe I'll still be a public servant. In what way? It depends. Election is near in Malaysia. We had a historic election the last round where a government which has ruled for more than 60 years was taken down democratically, and there was a peaceful transition of power. And then halfway in, due to mass defections, there was another change in government, which led me to leave government, despite losing my job as a minister, as the youth chief of one of the largest political parties in Malaysia. But until today, I believe I made the right decision. I do not believe in mass defections, in putting behind the people's mandate. And I'm a firm believer in cultural diversity and not just mono-ethnicity and religious mono-ethnicity. Moving forward, I'd like to focus on public service. So at the moment, I'm still a member of parliament of MUA, a constituency in a southern state. And I'm completing my executive course in the National University of Singapore on public policy. So I want to learn a lot more on the nitty-gritty details of policy making, public service, so that when I'm back in government, I will be able to serve much better. I'd like to be a lot more policy-driven and focused. I remember when I served as a minister, in that short time span, I was able to amend 3 crucial constitutional amendments, lowering of voting age from 21 to 18, automatic voter registration, and getting younger candidates from 21 to 18. And it was a historic bipartisan constitutional amendment because Malaysia never had a bipartisan success for decades, especially in such a crucial constitutional amendment, which showed that, you know, you give a chance to a young person, you're able, I believe we can bridge political divides, call for unity, and put national interest first. So I think next 5 years, I will be in public service, doing public policy. I think politics is my passion because it's about nation building. Whether I'll be in government, opposition, wherever I am, I think that's to be seen. However, I feel very passionately in driving Malaysia forward.
Okay, so Shehbaz, you have 2 more questions, right? Go on.
Yes. Okay. One is, we heard you like Selena Gomez, so I want to ask, which one is your favorite Selena Gomez song?
Yeah. Yes, I do. Interestingly, one of the only concerts I've been to in my life, the Selena Gomez concert in Malaysia. And this was, I think, sometime in either 2016 or 2017. One of the only concerts I've been to, mind you. And I remember the ticket was unbelievably expensive because it's all fully booked. So they only had like the good seats. To show how much I wanted to go, I to some extent auctioned myself, not in a sexual way, of course, but auctioned myself in terms of, because there's this cat charity, this cat charity who I paired up with. So we wanted to fundraise for stray cats. So I paired up with them, and then whoever bidded the highest, then I'll be able to pick the person up. I'll be like the person's chauffeur, bring him or her to the stadium, going together, watch and listen to the concert together, and the person will pay for my ticket and also make a contribution to the cat charity. So yeah, that's how I overcome one of the financial barriers, and I truly enjoyed the concert. And my favorite song is Naturally. It's not like her most iconic song. I know people iconic song, I Love You Like a Love Song and all of that, but Naturally has a very sentimental connotation behind it, because when I was in high school, I was in military school, so I was starved of good music and also the internet, because I was in military school. But when I graduated and joined the International Islamic University and engaged in debating, I finally got myself, through my roommate, MP3. Back then, you didn't have all these Apple, iPhones, all the kind of things. It's just a small MP3. And when I borrowed my friend's MP3, it was on shuffle. And I remember listening to the MP3 until I fell asleep. But suddenly, already when I was asleep, I was woken up by this great song called Naturally by Selena Gomez. And then I woke up and I put that on replay many times. And then from there onward, I started listening to a lot more Selena Gomez music. So yeah, not the most interesting of stories or songs, but it's very unique to me.
Nice. So the last question is, like, your mom wanted us to ask you this question.
My mom?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, we know this is a problem in Asian countries and also in Turkey. So here it comes. When are you going to get married?
It is a very interesting but question which I've heard like for the past God knows how long, especially when I got into politics. Because people say politics is very cutthroat, and having a life partner will definitely make it more tolerable. But I don't think it's anytime soon. I am dating, however, I'm very much married to my job at the moment, and I made a deal with my parents that before I get married, I must be able to bring my mom and my dad to either perform their Hajj or Umrah in Mecca, and then to also bring them on a holiday. So I actually plan to bring them to Turkey. So if you want to know when I'll get married, will be the time when you see me bringing my parents on holiday to Turkey or to perform their Hajj or Umrah. Then you know it's close. Therefore, I need to get their blessing. But yeah, at the moment, since election is close, really I'm focusing on nation building, and when the time is right, the time is right.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you very much for your honest responses. But we, as you know, we are the one of the biggest debate organizations in Turkey, and we have hundreds of students around Turkey listening to us now, and then we'll listen the record afterwards on our YouTube channel. So my question is, how debate affected your life and also your political career, like your career afterwards the debate? So how it affected yourself?
Yeah, I think there are three big life-changing decisions which helped me get where I'm at today. One is having a great mom. Second is entering military college. And third is getting into debating. Without debating, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. I wouldn't be a critical thinker. I wouldn't be able to muster the courage and political will to do a lot of things which I do today, to deal with threats and offers. And debating really prepared me to join politics. To show how big debating has impacted my life, before I joined debating, I could barely speak in English. My knowledge was very weak and thin. It was so bad to the point that I thought that Egypt was a continent and Africa was a country. And I mean, really, I was ignorant and to some extent arrogant. So debating really changed all of that. I fell in love with debating. I learned a lot from YouTube. Really illegally bringing a laptop into the military college, despite not being allowed to do so. But then watching as many YouTube debate videos on debating. And then from there onward, getting to International Islamic University, and then having some of the best of coaches, traveling the world because of debating, building up my experience, which also contributed to the values which I hold quite strongly today, which is on diversity, meritocracy, unity, freedom, human rights. These are all things which tie in, to me, debate values to life values. So I remember also one of the reasons why I joined politics was also because of debating. Two key reasons. One is, the last thing which you want is to be very passionate about some issues. When you are a debater, you debate about global issues, national issues, and you feel very passionate about it. But you do not want to just lock yourself in a debate room and lock your passion in a debate room without being able to unleash it for greater good. Right? You want to ensure that you can translate that enthusiasm, passion into actual concrete public policies to help those out there. So I think that was one of the major reasons why I joined politics, because I don't want to just limit my passion in policy and nation building into the confinement of a debate room. I think it should be brought outside. Secondly, and quite interestingly, before last election, I moved a youth movement in Malaysia to speak up on issues of corruption and abuse of power perpetrated by the former Prime Minister. And then when I decided to do so, there was a massive clampdown. I lost my job as a part-time lecturer. I lost my job as a researcher. My parents, especially my mom, was a civil servant, was threatened. My brother and my father were threatened in very personal ways. And not just that, because I could no longer teach debating and could no longer become a debate coach, it didn't stop there. They also barred my students from representing Malaysia. And these are amazing debaters. Amira Natasha Moore, Mubarak Wasi, who ended up becoming Asia's first Australasian debate champions. And then now I think they've broken all my debate records as well. But when I was their trainer, because of my activism, they were not allowed to represent Malaysia to go to the United States for the round robin championship. So, I mean, that really pissed me off and showed how corrupted of a political structure we had. And there must be that voice of change to drive the reforms forward. So I think that pushed me to a great extent into politics. So in summary, without debating, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. So for those who are watching, please do join debating. And debating is not just about winning trophies or improving on your English. It's really about shaping your identity, your beliefs, being a critical thinker, daring to think out of the box, finding unique solutions to conventional problems. Really, debating makes you a much, much better person. It's just that a precaution which I always say to debaters is, learn all of that, open up your mind, be a critical thinker. However, don't be arrogant. The last thing which you want, and I think one problem which afflicts a lot of debaters is that we will always think that we are right and no one else is right. Often it's a middle ground. There will be times and occasions where we are right and there are times where we are wrong. That's the beauty of a diverse viewpoint. So yeah, learn as much as possible. Just don't fall into the trap of arrogance.
Yeah, thank you very much. And now, Olcay, you're here, right? Olcay,
Yes,
can you
I'm
hear me?
here. Can you hear me well?
Yeah, the Olcay.
Yes, I can. Hello, I'm Olcay. I am a senior going to Basic Central in high school. You've talked about your passion as a politician a lot, and I want to ask, what kind of obstacles have you faced as a young person doing politics in Malaysia? And we would like to hear it from you.
Yeah, thank you very much. There are a lot, to be honest, especially when I first joined politics. As I mentioned briefly just now, there were a lot of threats towards me and my family because it was a time in which Malaysia never had a change in government ever since our independence. So when there was a people's movement, an uprising, obviously those who lead the movement for change will be clamped down immediately. So threats here and there, but I will have to overcome those. So I lost almost all sources of income because I couldn't teach in the public university anymore. I could no longer teach in schools. I could no longer become a debate coach. I could no longer become a researcher for a think tank under state government and many other things. But I persevered. So that's one, not just towards me, but also towards my family. Second part is that being young brings a lot of negative connotations as well in Malaysian politics. Automatically, you are labeled as inexperienced, too emotional. You are subpar, suboptimal to those who have served for the past 40, 50 years, and that your viewpoints are not taken into serious consideration. However, I think as someone young and many other young people who are interested in politics, don't be disheartened by it, flip it and make that a positive. In reality, young people of today are disruptors. We live in an age of disruption. Because we are young, we may not have the wealth of experience, but we are critical thinkers. We are able to come up with unconventional solutions to resolve conventional problems. We are a lot more passionate, diligent, and hardworking. We strategize much better. So I think the lack of experience can be complemented by many, many other unique value adds which young people can bring. So I remember starting up my first party at the age of 23 years old, together with the former Prime Minister and interestingly also the current Prime Minister. So my party in the past about 2 to 3 years, have come up with 2 Prime Ministers, despite a party which was just founded in 2016. However, the party which also sacked me because of the mass defections which took place, which I opposed. So in a way, yeah, there were barriers because starting a party at 23 years old when I was still in university together with them and being tasked to lead the youth wing of the party was tough. However, again, we marched forward. We kept on marching forward. What we lacked in experience, we lacked in financial firepower. We made it up with many other things. So aspiring politicians and activists out there, do not ever allow the oldies to dishearten you or disincentivize you from joining politics because you are young and inexperienced. In reality, take all that negative vibes, convert it into something positive, and the best way to prove them wrong is with our success. So that's why when we're able to create history, the party won, and at the same time, I won in MUHİT, one of the most significant and historic seats for the previous ruling government, because they've never lost a seat for the past 60 years, never. And I was able to win that seat at the age of 24 to 25 years old, without much money and machinery, and then being appointed as the youngest minister. So I think that success story hopefully will disprove the critics. And when I'm able to forward many important reforms within my own capacity as a youth and sports minister, hopefully that will open the eyes of many that youthfulness should never be treated as a liability, but as an asset.
Yeah, maybe the second question will also be connected to this one. And I'm going to hear from Mariam, her question. Yeah, go on, Mariam.
Okay, hi, I'm Mariam. I studied at Düşünceye High School, and my question is about your social media career. You're so popular on both Instagram and TikTok, but like some people don't see social media as a respected place, especially when you're a politician. So my question is, aren't you afraid to lose people's respect because of being a social media star?
Yeah, to be honest, it's not planned. When I got into politics, then social media following increases. But I also believe that social media is another way to gauge people's reaction, opinions, and beliefs. The last thing which we want when we are a politician is to stay out of touch, thinking that we are right all the time. We end up becoming arrogant. We lose touch with the ground and the public, and we're not able to serve well. I believe social media often could potentially be an accurate reflection of people's sentiment. Not all the time, but it's one of the important reflection points. So the reason why I'm on as many social media as possible, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and recently TikTok, is because I want to engage with as many people as possible, and especially during times of COVID, where you can no longer meet up with them face to face, you can no longer meet up with big audience and crowds. Social media becomes the alternative. You organize Facebook Live, Instagram Live, you engage with them on TikTok, and TikTok uniquely and specifically caters to the even younger generation, the below 25s. So I want to engage with as many groups as possible. You know, Facebook is usually in Malaysia, dominated by those who are 40 years and above. And then Twitter is about 30 years and above. And then TikTok is like 25 and below, and Instagram is somewhere in between. So really, I want to be as engaging as possible. I want to understand their concerns and problems. I want to run a lot of campaigns through social media. I believe we can convert it as a very positive tool. As I mentioned recently, when I ran the campaign of one family, one laptop, by raising about $70,000 in 5 days' time for the underprivileged in Malaysia, especially my constituency in MUHİT, we're going to get 500 laptops for 500 families. I really just run it through social media. Not much of money and firepower, just through social media and a few friends helping out. We were able to break the record and do it well, and it became such a big campaign that even the mainstream media decided to air it live during prime time, which was viewed by many and then immediately became a trending issue on all social media platforms. The point is, it's about getting our message out and understanding people's sentiment so that we don't lose touch with the ground. So,
do you have a team, Saddiq? Do you have a team for controlling those platforms? Because like it takes too much time to cover up all the social media. So do you have a young team who's helping you out?
Yeah, I do have a very young team. They're very supportive. A lot of them are still in university or just graduated from university. But it's a very dynamic team. But a lot of the postings, photos I post up on myself. It's just that the more political postings require a lot more research. So I get my team to help me out. Again, if social media is controlled by admins and admins only, then it becomes very depersonalized, and that will lead people to unfollow you. So I personalize it to a great extent. That's why you see a lot of my replies and my postings, and people know usually how I write and what I post. So personalize it, reach out, and I believe that we can get a very positive message out there.
Thank you. Now we're going to hear from this group is now the Syed talking from Malaysia, and we are in Istanbul, and there are two person, Emirhan and Nurbanu, they're in Italy. So 3 different time zones we are in. So we're going to hear from Emirhan, his question. Yeah.
Okay. My question is about the language of politics. In a debate round, you could easily show logical fallacies to the judge and smash an idea that is not coherent or plausible. However, usually politics is dominated by these sort of fallacies and rhetorics based on heroism or populism. Is it the case in Malaysia too? If so, how do you deal with it as a debater?
I think it's true in all countries, not just Malaysia. However, as a debater, we shouldn't feel disheartened, or nor should we fall in the trap of perpetuating the very same narratives. While we must be pragmatic in picking our battles and being strategic in aligning ourselves with NGOs, NGIs, so that we are able to break all the logical fallacies. However, what's most important is we need to keep on pushing the boundaries forward. While it may be tough, we shouldn't just engage in the politics of pandering, but it is about changing hearts and minds of people. And like debating, we may get the worst of judge, but if we're able to explain it concisely, logically, then we are able to convince all types of judges, regardless of the countries, regardless of the experience of that judge. So it's the same in politics. So I think if we're able to sit down with those groups, sit down or go on a tour to explain a particular concept, idea, or policy, we will be able to change the hearts and minds of people. Very simple example, when I forwarded an important piece of legislation, which is to reduce voting age from 21 to 18, in debating, I thought it would be very much straightforward. I mean, at 18, you can drive, you can get married, you can sign important contracts. Why can't you vote? But in Malaysia, just using the argument is insufficient because, again, people see young people as a liability. They are inexperienced. They are very emotional in decision making. They can be bought over by money and all of that. However, instead of just complaining and giving up, I went on a nationwide tour to explain, had listening tours, listening to people's concerns and addressing them, meeting up with party leaders, whether those in government or in opposition, meeting of chief ministers of respective states to get their buy-in. So in the end, we're able to create a cogent and coherent force to make this a collective win, not just a partisan win. I think that was one of the biggest reasons why we were able to make that crucial reform. So yeah, at times it's quite frustrated because you think that being logical is the expected norm. But as I mentioned, the last thing which we want is to think that we are right all the time and they're wrong. At times it's really about understanding why they come up with their opinion, where they are coming from. And instead of talking them down, it's about engaging with them in a meaningful dialogue. Instead of saying that you are dumb, stupid, and you're wrong, really it's about understanding why they are saying this and making and asking questions that they themselves would reach the conclusion which we want. As debaters, it's all about asking questions, and I think we will be able to do that.
Yeah, thank you very much. Now we will have Nurbanu. Nurbanu, she's also in Florence. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Nurbanu, and I study law at Galatasaray University. And my question is related to law. It is about limitations on rights and freedoms. So in law school, we learn that certain rights and freedoms, like freedom of expression, freedom of private life, can be limited for reasons like public order, public health, and also public morality. But we see in practice that in Europe, it is not often the case that these rights are limited for public morality. But to my observation, I can see that in countries with a Muslim majority, public morality and religion is often used as a reason to limit rights and freedoms. So do you think, as a young, and I think it might be safe to say as a person who has tended to other progressive or liberal values and concepts, do you think that this is also the case in Malaysia? And also, do you think it is a commonality among countries with a Muslim majority?
I think you're absolutely right. There's obviously a West and East divide when it comes to values and how we regulate respective rights and freedoms. Public morality is a lot more prominent in Muslim majority countries, not just Muslim majority, but ASEAN countries in general, in comparison to our Western counterparts. And each country will have their own localized and contextual approach in dealing with things. However, I think it's always about reaching that middle ground. There's no perfect way of moving forward. We can't go to the extreme left in almost unfettered freedom, or go to the extreme right, where we limit and restrict the rights of minorities, because you don't want to create a knee-jerk reaction like what happened in the States, where you had Obama and then the pendulum swung completely the other way to a Trump. So really it's about being centrist and acknowledging the context of the country which we're talking about. So in Malaysia, for example, we are a Muslim majority country, and we need to acknowledge that Islam features prominently in people's daily lives. However, it's also about respecting the rights of other religious minorities. It's about celebrating their freedom, celebrating their cultures, and acknowledging that even in Islam, there are different there are different segments of people. And in the end, as long as we believe to the one God, we should celebrate that, and that we should not always go down the path of vengeance or coercion or punishment, but use compassion as a way to move forward. I show one simple example. Before I was a minister, when I was in opposition, and also when I was a minister, there's a very big problem in how we treat transgender community in Malaysia. And only enough, then I was from a mono-ethnic party. This was before elections. And I said, instead of just discriminating them, especially in a job market, I think we should engage with them, get them jobs, so that then they will no longer need to rely on the sex trade or sex market to earn a living. Because the unfortunate tragedy in Malaysia is that those who identify themselves as transgender will often be pushed to the corners of desperation and get into the sex trade, and therefore get HIV and AIDS and bigger problems which afflict the community. Instead of pushing them to the corner, really it's about upskilling, reskilling them, showing compassion as the way forward. And I was very privileged because we had a very good mufti as well, a religious leader who now is the Minister of Religious Affairs, Dr. Zul, who practiced the same kind of Islam, to show compassion. He prayed with them instead of discriminating them or condemning them. He engaged with them, gave them food aid, provide shelter for them, provide job opportunities, and I think that's the way forward. Because if not, really, if we want to go on the extreme exits, thinking that they are evil, they are incarnations, devils of Malaysia, or whatever you want to call it, then really we're not solving a problem. We're making it worse. We're causing them to move worse off in the black market or into the sex trade, and really we're not treating them with any dignity as a human being. So it's always about finding that middle ground. On the other hand, it's not like full recognition, creating a different toilet. So again, in the West, there's a different debate. In Asia, there are different debates. So it's about finding that middle ground. But I always believe that the best way to find that middle ground is to use compassion. Compassion can unite all, whether from the left or the right. The way in which we deal and address these cultural problems is really by using compassion and not punishment.
Thank you very much. And we will have now Ruwaida's question. Yeah, we are hearing you.
Hi, you can hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay, I'm Ruwaida. I'm studying sociology at Bahçeşehir University. And we know that you're a really successful debater. And my question is, how did you become that successful? And there's a lot of debaters watching us right now, including us. How was your lifestyle back then? And what are your advice to us and suggestions?
Yeah, thank you very much, Ruwaida. So my lifestyle as a debater is almost the same as my lifestyle today. As I mentioned before I joined debating, my general knowledge was horrible. My English was horrible. My willpower was horrible. And debating really liberated me from all those problems. And I have a set schedule during my debate days. And that set schedule is something which I carry on with me even today as I'm in politics. So, in debating, you need to read up a lot. So every morning when I wake up after performing my subuh prayers, I'll read BBC and Al Jazeera. And then during lunchtime, I'll read all the local papers, I think about 4 to 5 local papers. And then when I go do my morning or evening job, I'll listen to The Economist. So usually debaters will buy The Economist magazine. I'll just subscribe and download the audio version and listen to it. So I have that set schedule and I still carry it out today. it's almost the same, if not a lot more intense, as I'm reading a lot more books today than how I was as a debater. Because it teaches me discipline, it instills willpower, it improves my knowledge to a great extent, and I do not want to lose that. I think that plays a very important role. Second part is, as a debater, you'll often feel very passionate arguing on specific issues, whether it's on specific human rights, whether it's on women empowerment, youth empowerment, or important public policy issues on economic redistribution, or what have you. But as a debater, you'll have your own sets of values, and you argue it very passionately. My advice is not to confine those values in a debate room, but to really bring it out there, to start in the smallest, the biggest of ways. So for me, really, I'm not born in a rich family, nor am I born in a political family. None of my family members were in politics before. My mom is a civil servant. My father used to work at a construction site, used to work as a phone operator. So we didn't have much political ties, networks. But for me, because of my debating background, I'm able to build a decent following in Malaysia, and then setting up my own youth movement, demanding for transparency, accountability, and to challenge the corrupt power structures in Malaysia. And when we were punished, instead of falling back, we went full throttle onwards, and we confronted the power structures and tried our best to dismantle it. And finally, we were partially successful. So really, it's about finding that passion and allowing that passion to drive us forward. It will be very risky, I think, in hindsight. I mean, I'll still do what I did then. However, if you ask the average Malaysian, or even I remember my parents then, they were discouraging me, because not only did I lose all my sources of income, my family was threatened, my students were threatened as well. And it also came at a unique time where I just graduated from law school and received an offer and partial scholarship into Oxford University for my master's in public policy. But it was very near to election as well. So I had to make that critical call whether to pursue my life dream to study in Oxford for master's in public policy, or to participate in what would be the most historic election in Malaysian history, which I then picked the letter. So really, I mean, there's no quick way to success, but I always tell my friends that follow your heart. As long as the heart is in the right place, all will go well, because there will be a lot of barriers, problems, threats, offers along the road. But if your heart is in the right place and you know that you're doing what you believe in, no matter how difficult it gets, you will be able to wake up well and without feeling that strong sense of guilt.
Thank you very much. Now, Şevval, we'll hear you for your questions for the island questions. There's a concept of islands. So we're going to hear the Şevval now. Yeah.
Okay, Syed. Now we got 3 questions we asked to each guest of ours. So imagine you're on a deserted island. Which 3 books would you take with yourself?
Interesting. Stranded island, 3 books. Obviously, it's like the pragmatic side of me will definitely like get all the 101 books, like how do you live on a stranded island. I'm very sure you'll find a book on how to live on a stranded island, but that's like being very super pragmatic. But in reality, what comes to the top of my mind will be the unpragmatic answers, which is to really enjoy those books. I love reading Khaled Hosseini. He's a great writer. I think he's also of Turkish origins, if it's Turkish and Afghani origins. Khaled Hosseini. So there are 2 books which I love from him, which is The Kite Runner or The Thousand Splendid Suns. I'm never a big fan of fiction. However, when I started reading his books, it really opened my eyes to how fiction could really help me. At the same time, I also love, non-fiction, Thomas L. Friedman, The World is Flat. So these are the 3, actually a lot more. So I just recently completed Obama's book. I'd highly recommend for for debaters and aspiring politicians to read it up as well. I finished reading the book by Macron when he set up En Marche. So there are a lot of books, but the more pragmatic side of me, if you start in an island, obviously it's about survival, so you will not think about these books. But the more fun side of me would bring these books.
Okay. Which 3 songs would you take with you?
3 songs, okay. One, I have this local or Malay song which I listen to whenever I want to pump myself up before I face great debaters in Oxford, Cambridge, Harvard. It's called Mentera Semerah Padi by M. Nasir, is a local singer. And it's a very interesting song because it really pumps me up. It says like, because there's a saying in Malaysia that, a negative stereotype that if you are Malay, you don't have a strong willpower, you're lazy, this and that. But that song really converts and changed that perception, you know. And whenever I want to face the most amazing debaters from the best of universities, and I come from the International Islamic University, instead of, you know, feeling a sense of inferiority complex, I listen to the song, it pumps me up, and I know I'm ready to go. So that's the first one. Second one, I obviously want to bring Naturally with me, also because it's very sentimental. Yeah.
Please tell it more specifically. We should write it. What was the first song?
Sure.
Because we are making a Spotify list. The Emirhan is now doing it to get motivated to the debaters before the debate. So that song may be one of that. So please tell it. What was it?
Okay, just the name of the singer is a big M, and then you write a dot, M dot, space Nasir, Nasir. So the name of the singer is M. Nasir. The name of the song is Mentera Semerah Padi. It's quite long, so it's 3 words. So Mentera is Mentera, Mentera. Semerah is Semerah, Semerah, and then Padi is Padi, Mentera Semerah Padi. So again, it's a Malay song. I'm pretty sure you'll find the English lyrics to it, but it really pumps me up because it's before I face the best of debaters, I listen to it and I will lose that sense of inferiority complex. In my mind, I'll be like, you can see as a Muslim or as a Malaysian, I'm weak and I come from this random university, but I will prove you wrong. I'll beat you and show you that Islam is not a religion of violence and that we can win against the best of debaters in the West through rational thoughts and logical arguments. So that's the first one. Second one, again, is the song which I mentioned just now, Naturally from Selena Gomez. And the third song, I think, one of my favorites as well, Dancing in the Moonlight by Top Loader. Yeah, I truly, that's really just to relax. Dancing in the Moonlight. So these are 3 songs.
Okay. And lastly, 3 movies.
3 movies. Is this inclusive of documentaries or like only?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, because one which definitely comes to the top of my mind is a documentary I watched recently. It's quite long, a few series behind it on Netflix. Oh God, what is it called? The Ottoman Empire. It's really about the Ottoman Empire. It talks about Mehmed the Conqueror, or the youngest leader who managed to challenge the West and liberate Islamic city. So I think it's a very interesting documentary. I think everyone should go and watch it. So one is the Ottoman Empire. Second movie, I mean, this is really just for fun, but I was addicted to watching it. The Lord of the Rings, the trilogy. So really, The Fellowship, Twin Towers, The Return of the King.
Debaters
I
will love
so
it.
much.
Syed,
Really?
our team, I have 2 Ahmeds, and they're like, and Mia also. I mean, we watched the Lord of the Rings movies more than 100 times. So like, it's like a passion in our debate club.
Yeah, we share the same passion, and it transcends borders. I love it so much that today, whenever I read books I always like to play background music, and the background music will always be Lord of the Rings. You just go on Spotify and you type Lord of the Rings, and then you'll get like all the thematic songs. Really, it's so peaceful, calming, fun. So yeah, Lord of the Rings, the trilogy. That's not like only one movie though, it's like 3. And the final one, again, something very light, but really reminds me of my childhood, which is very funny. The White Chicks. It's really called The White Chicks. You should watch it. It's really damn funny. So yeah, maybe not the most like intellectual of answers, but it's really fun. So yeah, I recommend all of you to watch it.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. And finally, actually, we're going to finish the record like 5 minutes. So we're going to ask you the main for as we said, like a couple of youth are watching us. So they're having troubles, not just getting into politics, but also they're facing troubles in to deal with the elderly. So what would you say to this 16-year-old Syed in a high school, what he can do, what he should do to improve himself in nowadays world? Because you have seen things in your short life. You have seen a couple of things. You have experienced some good stuff. So what can be your thoughts about 16-year-old Syed, and what would you say to him?
Yeah. The first thing I say is never ever get disheartened by those who ridicule you for being young. And there will be many. When you're young, you are labeled as inexperienced, subpar, suboptimal, weak. And it's easy to feel disheartened, especially when it's said time after time again by those who are much older than you. Do not feel disheartened, and convert that negative vibes into a positive energy in which you want to prove them wrong. Be as competitive, like I remember when I faced the best of debaters from Oxford, Cambridge, Harvard, instead of feeling disheartened, I get so hyped up because they have all to lose, I have all to gain. And you need to have that same attitude and feeling in politics or in activism. When you believe in something, there will be 100 barriers in front of you, but as long as your willpower is strong enough, you will be able to smash those barriers home. So that's the first thing. Second thing behind it is, remember, being young is, we acknowledge that we have a lot of liabilities, that we don't have the experience, we don't have the financial firepower or networking effect like those who are much older. But what do we have? We have passion, we have enthusiasm, we are diligent, and we come from the age of disruption. And the age of disruption means that we are very tech savvy, we think out of the box, we're able to resolve conventional problems with unconventional solutions and use those things to our advantage. We may not, if even the biggest Forbes 100 companies could be disrupted by tech companies led by the young, why can't young people disrupt Malaysian politics or global politics? If people campaign in a particular way, we campaign in a different way. If they ridicule us on social media, we mobilize those on social media for our support. But it must start somewhere. The final thing is, do not feel afraid of making mistakes. Do not be too afraid of moving forward because of the threats. Really, it won't be easy at the beginning, but being risk averse means that we will be stuck with many problems, or worse, we'll feel as if we betrayed our cause and our beliefs. So I'm not asking you to just make like irrational and emotional decisions, but it's better to do something than to do nothing, because we don't want to do anything because we are afraid. At times, you need to muster that moral courage, especially when you're in a group of like-minded people who believe that change is essential to move your country, your community forward. I think that will do a lot of good. But just remember that whatever change you push forward, do not live in a silo where it's only about you and your group. The reality is our respective countries are all interconnected with one another. Different races and religions in our country are interconnected to one another. That our fates are tied, and that our success and failures will come in together. Hopefully, that will help you out.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Syed. And we're very thankful for Syed Saddiq, who was our well-beloved friend and well-beloved coach at past, and we are very, very thankful. And also the youngsters with us, joining the Her Düşünceye Bir Şans Ver, which is a chance to every opinion YouTube record. So very thankful. And now I'm going to close the YouTube, but we're gonna talk to you after the YouTube live. So just to give you a hug on Zoom. Okay, and Sheval, you have I think a surprise for Saddiq. Yeah, can you do it?
I can. Yeah, I think so.
Hey, you also have your own young politician, lah. What's the name? Oh my god. Oh,
Rumeisa.
that's Rumesa, yeah. She was a debater as well.
Yeah. It was this song, right?
Yes, it is this song. It is this song.